so I think I screwed up the Benelli clutch, but we got to open it up to find out. So we're draining out the oil, and the reason that I'm doing all this and taking it back apart is because actually I had a very interesting question from a viewer of my first install video of this with the 6-disc clutch from SMR, and it sounded like he was doing it himself and had a very simple question. It looks like the cuts on the friction plate are directional. How did you orient them? And I didn't know. I actually didn't even notice that. I'm really thankful that this particular viewer had a very detailed look at it and a good question. And so I tried to find the question online, and there was nothing really. The closest thing that I could find was just some old Kawasaki forum thread that didn't have anything to do with this particular one, but did mention that there were directional friction plate cuts and was asking which way to put them. And there was no real answer there. It was just kind of a assumed consensus. And so I thought, well, that's interesting. We got to figure this out. Thankfully, the person that informed me of this actually went to Steady Garage, who then went to SMR to ask about this. And their final word on this, which I'll put up on the screen, was basically that yes, they are directional. Just make sure that they're all oriented the same way, each friction plate. It doesn't quite matter which way, one way or the other, that the diagonals are oriented, whether or not they're pushing down or if they're kind of going along with the rotation of the engine. So that was the answer. And so I don't remember honestly how I put them in. It's possible that a lot of them are kind of flip-flopped. And so I just need to pull this thing off, see how everything is currently, and make sure, of course, that they're all directional and oriented in the same manner. As far as which way to go, I'll open this up and then kind of show you what they look like first of all, and then what I think is probably going to be the better of the two options on how to orient those diagonals. But first, got to take this back off again. All right, so we're back into the clutch, and this is what I was referring to, these diagonal cuts here. So they're oriented in such a way that they can either be forward facing like this, or the opposite, backward facing like this. And it actually was like that when I pulled it off this direction, so I did have to pull this off because I did have them in two different directions here. But the question now is, which way do you orient it? Do you orient it like this, or do you orient like this? And I didn't really find a good answer. I think the best option between these two is probably going to be this one, because the way that the engine is going to be spinning is this way, right? I think with that, it's going to fling more oil, which means you get more oil displaced throughout the engine case, which means more lubrication, which means everything runs smoother. So I think this is probably going to be the best bet. So I'm going to pull off each of these friction plates and twist them around so that they are all in this orientation, if they're not already. So we'll just pull off all those one by one, flip them, put them back in, and reverse the process, put it all back together. So just like that, everything's nice and together. I only had to flip one actually, just the very first one, but obviously I wanted to pull everything off, make sure that that's the case, so now they're all oriented in the exact same manner. Thank you once again to that viewer that pointed this out. This was really helpful, not just for me, but hopefully to all of you now. So now we know with this particular clutch, and for any friction plate clutch for that matter, that we know that we want to orient those all in the exact same manner. Now as far as which way the direction should go, that's up for debate still. They didn't give us a clear answer on that, just one way or the other. This is my opinion. If you have your own, please let me know. If I'm missing something, maybe I'll have to pull it off, do it all over again. Nothing left to do now but test drive. Thanks for watching.